More than 1 million Haitians are still homeless despite billions of dollars donated. 6 months after the earthquake, we went back to find the doctors we met in the days following the earthquake, the ones who reported no medicine for their patients, the ones who had used vodka as sterilizer. In a moment, we'll go back to Haiti for the progress report on this front. But first, a reminder of what we discovered at the 6-month mark.
We went back to find the doctors, so desperate for medicine and supplies 6 months ago.
Hospital?
They were forced to use vodka to sterilize equipment. How could we forget that emergency C-section under a plastic tarp, the mother hemorrhaging? They had no blood. Still saving the mother and the baby.
Is it a baby boy or a girl?
C'est boy, un garçon.
And where that tarp once stood, we found this.
The doctor stood right here during that emergency cesarean and said, "We don't have the supplies we need." Has that changed? Is that any better?
Yeah, I think that.
Across the street, we find this, a brand new portable operating room.
This is so-called holy rooms.
But this was not here when we were here last time.
No, of course
Of the
not.
more than $1 billion in U.S. donations to Haiti, $165 million has been spent on medicine and hospitals. Doctors Without Borders alone has spent $71 million in their own donations. Now fixing what doctors had to rush to do under primitive conditions. An amputee brought in again.
So, doctor, she has a major infection.
Yes, yes.
And we wondered, what about the children? A free pediatric hospital. It opened just 4 weeks ago.
You can see that he's had temperature spikes.
This mother brought her baby boy in, his lungs choked by the dust and the rubble.
You didn't have any help.
$89 million in U.S. donations have been spent on food, $16 million on water.
It's up around?
The head nun takes us up the hill, and behind that crumbled school, under the tents, it is lunchtime.
This is one quiet first grade classroom, and that's a good thing because these children are eating, in many cases, their only meal of the day. In fact, their teachers note that on Mondays when they come back after the weekend, they're exhausted because in many cases these children haven't eaten over the weekend.
They pay special attention here to the children like Tatiana, who raises her hand to tell us she lost both of her parents, and still she offers a prayer of thanks. A prayer of thanks for her food. And Associated Press reporter Jonathan Katz has lived in Haiti since 2007. He was the only resident U.S. correspondent in the country at the time of the earthquake a year ago. His reports were the first from the scene of the disaster. And as you can see in these pictures, his office and home were also destroyed. Jonathan Katz joins us now from Port-au-Prince with his own perspective on how the country has recovered in the past year. And Jonathan, we were just revisiting the numbers that we found at the 6-month mark. And what's really remarkable is that now we're at a year past this quake, and the numbers haven't gotten much better. I took note of your reporting on this anniversary. Americans donating $1.4 billion, and yet just 38% of it has been spent. A lot of folks are going to wonder what's in the way.
There's a number of things, but essentially it's not a straight line between donating money, whether you're a government or an individual, and the money being received. There are overhead costs, there are money that are spent on things like hotels for aid workers in the United States, transport for them to come down to Haiti, transportation just for them once they get here. And so it can be very complicated going from actually getting the money available in the first place to getting it in the hands of people in Haiti.
And as Matt pointed to, the political upheaval in that country, when do we expect to have any sort of relief from that so that some of this money can get flowing now a year into this?
That's a really big question. There was an election held on November 28th for president. The first round did not go well. There was a lot of disorganization, and midway through the day, 12 of the 19 candidates were calling for the election to be canceled entirely. There's supposed to be a second round on Sunday. That is not going to happen. It looks like essentially the country is in a political crisis, and this is a country that's used to political crisis. The Organization of American States was preparing a report to present to the president with a possible solution, naming the 2 candidates who could move on to the next round. But those recommendations aren't binding, and the president doesn't seem to be taking the report right now. And essentially, it's very much an open question. It's very hard to predict when that's going to be resolved.
And so I'm curious, as we wait for this political path to sort of unfold before our eyes, what your most hopeful sign has been. You've been there longer than any of us who've been back revisiting Haiti since this earthquake. What do you point to as the biggest sign of hope for those who did donate and are hoping for better Haiti?
You know, the most hopeful thing that you see when you live here, and it's become a cliche to talk about the resilience of the Haitian people, even among the Haitians themselves. But the most hopeful thing is that there's an expression in Haitian Creole, it's nous là. When somebody asks how you are, you say nous là, we're still here. And that's really the most hopeful thing, is that as much as this country's gone through over the years, and after the cataclysm of the earthquake and the ongoing cholera epidemic and the electoral crisis that's going on right now, the country's still going. People are still trying to put their lives back together, and they're open and they're willing, as soon as there's a plan for them to follow, and as soon as there's somebody to lead them and organize them and give them institutions that they can count on, they're ready and they want to rebuild their country. And that's really the most hopeful thing, because until those institutions are rebuilt and until there's a plan and somebody really to lead them, essentially everybody's going to keep going around in circles with their own personal lives. And really the hope is in the people themselves.
And in the children in particular, the resiliency you can see in their faces. We saw the children that we met 6 months in attending school underneath the tents. Has that gotten any better, and are more of the Haitian children back to school now?
The estimates of the number of children back to school who were in school before the earthquake are between about 80 and 95%, but at any given time only about half of school-aged children in Haiti were in school before the earthquake. That's another example of an institution that needs to be built. Most schools before the earthquake were private. They charged predatory fees. They weren't good at all. They didn't have any kind of organized curriculum. And I think that it is extremely important to build an education system to train children to be running this country in a very short amount of time. It's a very young country by the averages. And I think that there has been, again, some progress in that area, but absolutely nowhere near the amount of progress that needs to be seen to really make a difference in this country's future.
The AP's Jonathan Katz, who's been in Haiti since 2007. Jonathan, we appreciate your reporting. You've kept an eye on this story for the world, really, in the year since. We do appreciate it.